This is episode 58 of the Hybrid Coaching Podcast. And if you're sitting there like, wait, where's episode 57? We recorded it, but we're having trouble uploading it. So we might have to redo that one or find another way to get the link out to you guys. But in this one, we're going to catch up. It's been a while. We're going to finish up the recap portion of what we were doing, as well as talk to you about what do you do from now to your next race and where are we going, plus a couple stories and our opinions on a few things. So buckle up. Let's make hybrid fitness work for you. How's it going today, JK?
How are you, Anthony? It's been far too long since our last recording, mate. I'm glad we've got this going. How are you?
So it's been about 3 weeks since the last episode we put out, which was before Worlds. This is not the first time that we've recorded an episode. It's just the last one, a little bit of difficulty. So guys, if you might get a double episode this week, if I can figure out the link for the issues we had on the last one. We did do like a full recap, or actually we didn't finish it, but we did a big recap of the World Championships, at least the individual race and the relay. And I think we had begun to talk about the doubles, but didn't really get into it. So today, guys, we got a long roadmap here. So I don't know how long this episode will be, but I know we do have some time constraints, but maybe it'll be 40 minutes, maybe it'll be an hour and a half. We'll see. So we got a few things that just happened. Hyrox Sydney just happened. Maybe we'll talk about that a little. JK, you were in attendance. We'll talk about, hey, you didn't get a ticket to the Hyrox race you've been training for. What other things can you do? Right. Mm-hmm. Or why are you training? Right. We don't have to just train for a specific event, especially if you're not able to get a ticket. So we want to talk a little bit about that, how you're training for your health, and the reasoning for doing hybrid training. We're going to talk about running. And JK is doing a full marathon. So how does that differ from his Hyrox traditional training when he's doing full marathon training? And how can you do that if you want to go run a 10K half or full marathon or ultra? And then a little bit about balancing your running with your gym work. And then there was a 4-minute mile attempt by a woman, and she just missed it. We want to talk about that a little bit. And then we're going to talk about how shortly after she did that, big stimulus, right, for the 4-minute mile. And then shortly after she did that, the Prefontaine Classic this weekend, she broke the 1,500 meter world record, her own 1,500 meter world record. And that's Faith Kipyegon. There is more to talk about, because we also would like to expand on the review of the doubles that happen at World Championships and the adaptive race that I don't think we got to in our last episode, that if I can find it, I will re-upload. So that is kind of our long roadmap today. And just, it's good to catch up with everyone and actually have a sit-down recording, JK. How have you been this week?
I know. Yes, no, very good, thank you. We've just come back from Sydney Hyrox, so it was a great weekend. I was just saying on the weekend, it's crazy how it's only been 3 weeks since Worlds, and we're already into the next season, and I'm pretty sure Sydney Hyrox actually was now the biggest Hyrox event that they've ever had. 21,000 athletes. So it was a crazy weekend, and I went down there as a coach more than anything. So it was great to actually not race and actually have time to coach and be a part of Team Yard as well. So it was a different experience not racing. If you've been there or been at a Hyrox event and you're racing versus being at a Hyrox event just supporting, it's it's a totally different experience, and there's pros and cons of both. But we loved it, and my athletes did super well, and it was a great weekend. It was super fast as well, which was cool. Cool to
Yeah.
see.
You mean the course was really fast? Just like good setups. I mean, with that Keystone like setup they had, everybody was talking about how they ran them into the dome and they circled around and they had those like sharp edges that kind of like went in and out. I remember you ran this race last year and we looked at the map and it looked like, oh man, that's gonna really slow you down. But when we watched it, it was like, oh, that's not so bad.
Yeah, it wasn't so bad at all. The setup was great, I think, and the sharp turns weren't as sharp as it kind of looked on paper. So yeah, it was a great event as always. The APAC, obviously I'm biased. The APAC team does very well down here.
Yeah. And
Um,
just shout out to the people that we saw do really well and go pretty fast. That's Calypso Sheridan, who I don't know if you know her well, but she's been around for a while. We know her, as well as Josh Van Zeeland, Screaming Time, 55:20.
yeah, he was hooking as well. He was running super fast. So it'll be interesting to see if he can do another fast time soon, because I'd be interested to see him in a elite race. I think he could do pretty well.
Does he live down there? I was looking at it. It says it's a Luxembourg flag
Yeah,
is his flag, but he was running like 305 kilometers, except for that last one. So I assume the last one's long. Maybe all of them are a little short, but he's still screaming fast if that's
yeah,
the case.
I'm fairly certain the laps were about 900 meters or give or take. So he was screaming fast. I don't know about him that much. I know he lives in Western Australia, but as you said, he's actually from Europe. So um, it'll be interesting. I've got a feeling he'll be doing the Perth race, which is coming up in 6 weeks' time or so. So yeah, it'll it'll be interesting for him coming into the elite majors coming up.
And we're not going to get too much into it, but how did the sleds look?
The sleds looked fast. The sleds moved, so to speak. And just on that, like, because I was spectating, I was able to kind of like kind of have a perspective of just like watching as much as possible. So when I was watching the sleds, I was taking note of how they looked and how they moved, and for the open and then for the pro, yeah, they were pretty consistently moving.
Nice. Cool. So good job there. Who else did I didn't see the rest I saw Calypso one. Who doesn't know Calypso? She used to be in the US here. I believe she was a mechanical engineer and she moved back to Australia to do a job there. She I think she's training for the modern pentathlon Olympics out of
Wow.
Australia.
Oh, is that
But
right?
she won with a 102.48, followed closely by, if you follow our Beyond the Grid show that I do with JK's sister, um, we had Gabrielle Nakora Baker on one of the episodes. She was on an Elite 15 doubles team. She ended up running a 63.22. Um, so both of them with one time kind of knocking on the door of that Elite 15. I believe the Elite 15 cutoff right now is that 62.28. So
Okay.
they're just a little bit off at 20 and less than a minute off for both of them. So
Yeah,
they
awesome.
can go get another time and put themselves right in that mix.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, it was interesting because I was just quickly I was with Joanna Wettrick most of the weekend as well, and we both had this kind of weird feeling of not racing, but also we both enjoyed not racing, apart from when, for me, the men's pro were on, and then for her when the women's pro were on, and it was interesting. I can't talk for her, but it was interesting because we both, when those two races were on, I think, and Georgie can probably vouch for this. Like, we both kind of like changed our um probably like energy, because we were kind of like in depth, kind of like working out if these guys were like, or the course was going to be super fast, yada yada yada, or how they were going. Um, so from the perspective of that, like it was like I'm not saying that I wish I raced like or anything, but it was funny how I'm even thinking right now. I love the weekend, and then like watching everyone until the men's pro was totally different versus me watching the men's pro, right?
You
And it
can you
was,
can say it. You wished you raced. I was gonna ask you
well,
if you wish you had
I
raced.
wish, yeah, I wish I raced, but then again, I don't think I would have raced to my best ability because of 100 Ks in my legs beforehand, right? Sorry, to give perspective, I had a full week of like marathon training, right? So if I had tapered and if I had done what I needed to do to get prepared for the race, of course, now I wish I raced because of the times that I've seen, right?
Hey, you went into Sydney last year with a full week of training in your legs, literally what, a day or
I
two
know.
before you had done a threshold workout.
Yeah.
It was just a stimulus in it, and I think, yeah, why not? You're a year better. You could have done it, but I think it's a good call you didn't right now. Um, because I'm excited for you to like just be in this switching gears time. We're not really like in the flow of, hey, let's get back into Hyrox training.
Yeah.
So I think it's really good you didn't do it. But at the same time, I was sitting there like, I wish I had a reference point, because I don't know a lot of the people that raced. Like, we saw Dexy Buchanan and Tanguy Cruz are
Hmm.
on there, but I can't put into context um, how how fast these guys were, because I don't have you in there showing me like, here's
What?
what I
Yeah, there's no
expected you would have
reference.
done, and then where everybody falls on along with that. Um, so that's a little interesting, I think about.
Yeah. Yeah. So, um, on that note, like, just quickly, coach, after the weekend, I'm like, oh, I want to get back into the groove of proper Hyrox training, but it won't be for another 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks.
Yeah. You're gonna do this full marathon, buddy, and there's gonna be a week or two after that as well. That's not gonna be quite full.
Quite full. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a little bit of a raised volume in terms of, this is more volume than you've done. You're about 15 to 20 kilometers ahead of what you usually would be doing
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
in a week. But that's simply because we're extending your long runs. We're adding mostly what we're adding is easy work.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so that your ratio, I know when people talk about that 80-20 ratio, it actually, when you start to get the volume up, that ratio starts to go more towards the 90-10 than it does at 80-20.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, all right. Well, that can bring us in. I'll tell you about my week. We had a little. I'll tell you from my side what happened with Lily last like Tuesday. I was up here working on my computer, and Lauren was downstairs. She had done like one of her first threshold runs since Worlds. Um, like, actually, because it gets like structure starts to get into structure now. Um, but she came in from it, and we're trying to potty train Lily as well, which, my God, this is it's battle. But so Lily was in the living room. Lauren went to go like put Lily's potty on the toilet and came back out, and Lily had fallen or something and hit her head on the coffee table. Um, and so Lauren had told me that Lily was just like laying on the ground, like started crying, and like she holds up her hand with blood on it, and Lauren thought she hurt her hand, and she goes over to her, and then she asks her what hurts, and she goes, my head. She picks her up, and head wounds bleed.
Yeah.
So I'm not there. I'm gonna tell you from my perspective. I'm up here working. I hear, I can kind of hear Lily like let out like a little cry. But usually she'll like whine or something about having to go to the bathroom because we're potty training her. And then all of a sudden I hear Lauren yell to me from downstairs, Anthony! And I'm like, oh, what? And I like pause and I start to like pause the things that are on my computer. And then she goes, Anthony, we have to go to the hospital. And I'm like, up right away. I
Uh,
start running towards the stairs. I get um our stairwell, like our stairs go up, turn 180, and then go up. So I come down, and when I get to like the 180 turn, Lauren's right there with Lily, and she's holding her, and there's just blood. Like it looks like a murder scene.
no.
Like there is blood, tons of blood all over her hands, all over Lily's back. Like I'm like, oh my God. So we hurry up, and like less than like 10 minutes later, we're at like a children's hospital or an ER room, a children's ER room. They get her. She got a cut in the back of her head. She ended up having to have 3 staples put into her head to seal the little wound. So we spent 3.5 hours at the uh, at the children's trauma.
Yeah.
And then yesterday I'd actually been on a roll. I've been tracking my food for over a week now. I'm like, all right, here we go. Like I'm getting back into the groove of things myself. Um, I'd been like 3 or 4 straight days of like hitting the workouts I've been meaning to hit. Go to set up yesterday, and I usually don't do deadlifts, and I know I don't do deadlifts because I've had back problems before. Had back surgery. I set up. I was like, I'm just gonna go light, put like 225 on the bar. I'm just gonna do like 5 sets of five. You know, my second rep of my first set after I'd set everything up, I just feel my back like, and I'm like, oh. So bit of ibuprofen right now, seeing how it sits down. Um, Trying, hoping that like it's just I've done it before too, like a strained or sprained SI joint, uh,
Yeah.
or or like maybe I strained my left back erector. I think that's all it is. I don't think I slipped a disc or herniated a disc or anything. I've done that before and it doesn't feel the same. Was worried that was it at first, but with ibuprofen seeming to work, I'm thinking it's not disc related. So
Yeah. It's muscle related, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Just going back to Lily, I'm assuming like from a father, from your end, from a parent perspective, like I'm assuming that's the worst feeling if you like when you first see your child hurt. Like you can't name a worse feeling, right?
I mean, I was, like people are like flight, fight, flight,
Yeah.
freeze. Like I,
Yeah.
it was incomprehensible. Like I kind of, and I know I get like this, like when, like I'll have anxiety over little things, but when something like that happens, um, like traumatic situations or anything, my brain automatically just goes into like, do this, ABC, we need to go here, like has to
Yeah.
be this order. Like I could tell, like I get nervous and like it's very, very stressful. Like I could tell I was like shaking, like when we're in the car driving there. Um, Especially with like seeing your child's blood on your hands, wife's hands, like and it was a lot. Because the head wounds just
Yeah.
bleed. Doctors like told us like, yes, it's like bad, but it could have been worse. Um, so she's good. But yeah, it's definitely extremely stressful. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna tell you a story that I might have to cut out because I haven't asked if I'm allowed to share it yet. So if we have a jump cut right here, then I'm not
Yeah.
supposed to share this story. If we don't have a jump cut, then you guys are gonna get lucky and you're gonna be able to hear this story. But I will add to the whole thing with Lily what kind of stress it is, um, because it's interesting. So right after a couple hours, maybe like 2 hours, 3 hours after we get back from the doctor, uh, Lauren was very stressed as well, because I mean it's a stressful thing. Um, but it's something I didn't even know about. And I'm blanking on the name of it right now, but basically the hormone response and the stress level causes a an immediate period. Um, and
Right.
like so she had gone to the bathroom, and um there was like blood from her, like she had just had her period.
Right.
Um and more than like usual. And apparently there's like a stress response in women. Um I don't know if men can get it too, but there's like a stress response in women about these sudden sudden periods because of huge amounts of stress. Uh,
Wow.
Never happened before. And what's
Yeah.
Lauren works out so much that like she doesn't get a frequent
Consistent.
like consistent period, and so has it, hasn't had one for a while, and then boom, a sudden a sudden one
Yeah.
is very like, oh my gosh, and like heavy sudden, just because of that response. But it wasn't like a continual one. It didn't last for days. It was just there.
Yeah.
So we had looked up what it is, and I'm gonna pause right here because I'm gonna look up the name of it.
That's interesting, actually. I wonder what our side of, let's just call it a side effect, if we had one, if we have one to do with
Yeah.
stress.
And your body's amazing at regulating, so it's usually gone.
Yeah.
You're back on regular shortly after that, but it's never happened to her, and I've never heard of it before. So we did a lot of research looking it up afterwards, just to see what was going on. Didn't know what it is, but JK, you're right. I wonder if there is a male equivalent of this, and like
Yeah.
what happens to a guy, or if it's just like we experience an extreme stress and it's elevated cortisol levels in our bodies cause this, right? And like
Mm.
what would our internal response would be, or if it's just like an emotional or or like an adaptation that we
Um,
would have, we would experience.
yeah. 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 It's interesting. Um, and Lily is a-okay now, though, mate.
Yeah, she, acts like nothing happened. What's crazy is like it was a lot of blood for what I thought was a toddler, right? But as soon as like they got the staples in her head, well, not even the staples, as soon as we put like a bandage on her head at the doctor's office and they stopped the bleeding, she was like, "Oh, okay, this is what I got now." She's like, "I got a cool headband that I can push up and different things." But she's good now. She goes, runs around. She runs a lot. She is
Loving
everywhere.
it.
Yeah.
Really? How old is she now?
Lily will turn 3 years old in 4 days.
Wow.
Almost her birthday.
Good job. Very good.
So almost happy birthday to my little Lily.
For 3 years of age.
Yep.
Um, that's cool.
So, all right. So we talked about Sydney and Lily, and we're 20 minutes in here. Let's talk about. So I saw a lot of things happening, especially like with the release of new tickets, in even the pre-sale early release. People aren't getting tickets, and so what do you do if you are training and you have this goal? You intend, to go to, say, Hyrox Brisbane or something, and you've been training for a few months for it, and you got like 3 months to go, and then all of a sudden you don't get a ticket.
Mm,
I'm gonna say, first off, put yourself on the wait list for Hyrox. They have that new flex plan. And so what that means is there's not going to be as many secondary tickets available. These like secondary ticket sales
yeah.
places that a lot of them are going to turn into scams. So don't get caught up in that too much. Put yourself on the wait list for Hyrox. And because when the flex option happens, what that means is that basically somebody can just sell their ticket back to Hyrox, and Hyrox can issue it to somebody on a wait list. That's what the
Yeah.
point of the flex is, right? Um, so you guys definitely put yourself on that wait list if you don't get a ticket to your preferred division or event. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That should be the first thing you do. The second thing is don't stop training. You put all this work in. You can look up other places to get a ticket. You can
Mm.
keep training, have a positive mindset that you're going to get a ticket. I know it's not ideal. You could run a big simulation the day of your race that was supposed to happen, or you can look up other events because there are other hybrid fitness events. Because, guys, everybody has their own opinion about what the most effective training is, what's the best way to get fit, um, what is fitness and everything. And everybody has also what they enjoy.
Yeah.
Um, if you want to be like super fit, in my eyes, right, you need a base level of strength. You don't have to go crazy in terms of like, I think the way that CrossFit started out, it wasn't get massively strong. Like it used to be, lifting heavy was something that now is considered light or moderate in their workouts. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
I am absolutely of the opinion that you can go with one weight, continue to hit that weight, and just get faster at lifting it, more explosive at lifting it. You can use RFD, rate of force development, and instead of putting more weight on and going slower, you can um, apply a maximal force to a lighter load and move
Yeah.
it faster.
Yeah.
You get more explosive, you get more, I think you just get more out of it. And it's usually a little bit safer on your body and less stressful on your body, um, and allows you to do other modalities, other movements. You can run, you can ski, you can bike, you can row, you can swim, like all this other stuff, while still being strong and lifting heavier than anything you're going to need to lift in your life, right? Um, and so that is how I like fitness. It's
Mm.
extremely biased because I grew up wrestling where you only had to be able to throw your body weight and the body weight of somebody the same exact size as you around, right?
Yeah.
But you had to have amazing conditioning.
Yeah.
So that was my bias, but I feel like the way we train is amazing for life in general.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And like, but my response to that is like, what isn't extremely biased these days as well. Um, I think I am exactly the same as you as well. Um, Now, going back to if you don't get the Hyrox ticket, and what Anthony was saying there is like, well, don't 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 give don't give up, and don't throw in the towel just because you're not racing. Have a look online, like, and I'll preface a few other races. There's DecaFit. I think a lot of people would have heard of DecaFit, which is I don't want to even say like I've never done one, so I can't say it's easier, harder, or indifferent from Hyrox, but it's different than
it's
Hyrox. It's
different from Hyrox for sure, but
very different.
it's it's a little bit more intense, shorter,
Yep.
but it's still fun.
Yep. So there's DecaFit. There's another race called Deadly Dozen, which again is shorter, faster, more intense. And then there's obviously like running races as well, which again aren't hybrid events. But if we're training for Hyrox, and you're training with a solid running program in your program, then you should be able to jump into any running race.
Yeah, guys, and there's not just running races, there's erg races. If you want to do a ski erg, there's ski erg competitions, there's
Yeah.
rowing competitions. Um, they're a ton of fun. You can have a lot of fun going outside your comfort zone. Like don't worry about how you're gonna do. Just try them out. See what they're
Yeah.
like. But also, if you do want to like almost guarantee yourself a ticket to your next event, go volunteer.
Yeah.
Volunteers get an even
That's true.
special code, and they can get
That's true.
they get almost guaranteed tickets to the events they want to go to. So if you really have your mind set on a High Rocks, you should go volunteer at one, because I think you get a free race as well out of volunteering. if I'm not mistaken. You can also try judging.
Right.
Be a good
Yeah.
judge, go to the community, and then you get a lot out of it as well. Um,
Yeah.
that is a way to get yourself a ticket almost every time.
Definitely. Definitely. So yeah, it's like I'm the first to say I hear the stories of missing out on tickets and stuff, and it sucks. It sucks, but if that happens to you, the next thing is making sure you're in control of what you do next, and make sure you do something next rather than not,
Yeah.
because you'll feel better about yourself being okay. All right, I'm going to have a look at these weekends on your calendar. I'm going to try to get an event happening, sign up to a different event, and you'll feel better about yourself.
And and guys, if you are trying to be competitive, you should get that racing competitive mindset in there before you actually go to your event anyway. So you should be looking at these other ones as well, whether it's an
Yep.
OCR race, a DecaFit,
Yep.
Deadly Dozen, a road race, an erg competition, whatever it is. You should absolutely be looking at this even before you know whether you're going to get into your Hyrox race or not. We talked about
Definitely.
volunteering for it. And guys, we're not just speaking from like, oh, these guys don't know what they're saying because they can get a race to a ticket to any Hyrox race they want. Um, First off, I don't know if JK has. JK is a really good athlete. You know, when you're ranked top three, top one in the world, they kind of just let you into any race you want. But I've been denied into a race because I couldn't get a ticket
Mm.
before.
Yeah.
It's happened to everyone. So just it does happen. I would advocate volunteering to get a guaranteed spot though. Those are fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun being around the community.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely.
Uh, all right. So actually, before we get into that, when we were talking about hybrid training, I had a thought, JK. And so
Okay.
this is going to be not on our script here. You, I'm very curious, but we've heard a lot of like rhetoric around the sleds right now. And
Yep.
from what I hear is everybody, like a lot of people that talk the loudest were like, oh, you need to make them heavier, make them heavier. I'm curious on your opinion on the sleds and uh, heavier, lighter. What should they be now that like the direction they're going in? You said that they looked fast in Sydney. They probably had new sleds in Sydney. So are those just going to get after Hyrox's statement about how it's an issue with the sleds? Does that just mean that the sleds are going to get slower as the month goes on, as the season goes on, because they get more and more wear? Um, so is that going to be a thing? So I'm curious on your thoughts on like, should the sleds be heavier? Should they be lighter? Um, what's the look we're going for?
Yeah, in my opinion, and I think that's the most important thing here. Um, it's as simple as, why try to fix what's not broken? And in my eyes, they don't need to change the weight or the feeling of it, that and the weight of the feeling of the last 2 or 3 years, because Hyrox has done what they've done in the last 2 or 3 years. So why change it? I don't think it should be heavier. I don't necessarily think it should be lighter either, though. I think they should change it now. Um, yeah, that's that's my opinion, and um, I don't think I don't think they're trying to change it either. I look, I don't know. I just don't think they should be trying to change the feeling of it either way, though, lighter or heavier.
Yeah, I agree. I don't. The other part of that is like knowing what to expect. Should we expect these super heavy sleds? Should we expect the lighter sleds? What should we expect? Because that dictates their training. And a true professional is given the ability to prepare, right? Like you don't tell somebody that they're going to be, oh yeah, you're going to go swim 1,500 meters in a pool, and then instead take them out to the ocean and tell them that they're going to swim. You you
That's
don't like you're not prepared for these different situations. You don't tell you don't tell a bunch of people that haven't ridden a bike or that are maybe very fit or about to ride a bike that, oh yeah, it's going to be gentle rolling hills, and then go put them on a mountain that has jumps and lifts and stuff. Like, set up for the race that we're going to run. That
Correct.
is what being a professional is about. On top of that, I very much dislike the make the sleds heavier or make them lighter. Uh, just because when you talk about power, right? If we define intensity and intensity as power, power is work over time or force times distance over time. Instead of trying to increase this numerator, make them go faster. So if you talk about like what is power, decrease the denominator, which is time, the amount of time it takes to do something by going faster, but leave the numerator the way it is. I'm not saying go lighter, um, but there's got to be a minimum force requirement. And I really also the argument that like, oh, that makes it a runner's race. No, it doesn't. It doesn't make it a runner's race. Runners can't do um, 50% of their body
Burpees.
weight,
Yeah.
50% of their body weight or whatever as a 100-meter sandbag lunge. They can't do 100 wall balls. They can't carry 75% or more of their body weight for 200
Nice.
meters. Like, that's not a runner's race. They can't do that stuff. Rowing and skiing at that same speed. Uh, it takes somebody that trains multiple modalities uh, and multiple just like movement patterns in order to do this. The sleds are not
Yeah.
what makes it or stops it from being a strength based race.
Correct. So I think like I have never thought about it in that way. Like, well, sorry, I have from the perspective of like coaching with you, or like our like we've kind of gone through like, okay, it's better to keep progressing during the race, even if it's slightly slower, than stopping,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So make sure that the especially in the elite field, make sure that the sleds, make sure that not even the sleds, but everything else, um, the elites can actually do exactly that. Try to get it to a point where they can do everything unbroken. But like it's not easy to do that, but the power output like sorry, the elites can actually do it because the power output, because of their power output, right?
Right.
Does that make
Right.
sense?
So like, yeah, and just think about it in simple math terms. Work equals force times distance, power equals force times distance over the time. If the sled lanes vary from lane to lane, people aren't doing the same amount of work. So somebody could go faster, have less of a power output than somebody that's going slower,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
because the amount of work that has to be done during the race.
yeah,
And the only way to fix that is like, or not fix it, but just for an example, if there is discrepancies lane to lane to lane, um, if you want those to be less of a discrepancy, in terms of lane, the lighter it is, the less variance you have. So if it's like
yeah,
10 or 15 or 20% difference from the lightest lane to the heaviest lane, right? Well, if it's 100 kilos and a 20% difference, that means a 20-kilo difference. Somebody else might be pushing 80 versus 100 or 120 versus 100, right?
yeah,
Um, if you lighten the load, and I'm not saying to lighten the load, but if you reduce the friction so that the force to overcome the static friction is lower, uh, then say it's like 50 instead of 100, then your difference is 55 to 45 instead of like these bigger swings, you know? So
yeah,
the difference isn't felt as much.
yeah.
So it won't be as apparent if there is a difference. So that's just all I was saying is like we got to get the lanes equal and then not equal towards the heavy end because it'll
Correct.
still
Yeah,
represent a bigger discrepancy if it is.
yeah,
Plus, I view like I said, the race as a power equation. And so if you want to have the most power output, so I ran an event one time, and one of the events was basically measuring power. Everybody had the same amount of time. I think it was like 4 minutes. Um, and what I had them do is I had a team do a relay mile, uh, and then they had 1 minute rest after their mile,
Yeah.
and then they had 4 minutes to move as much weight as possible. And so what that means is they had to move from ground to overhead. They could clean and jerk or snatch it, the most amount of weight in a set amount of time. So everybody's denominator was the exact same. And so what weight you picked mattered in terms of the amount of work you were doing to
Yeah.
maximize your power. And the people that won were not the people that picked 200 pounds, and it was the people that picked 95 or 115 or 135 pounds and were doing like 12 to 15 reps a minute.
Yeah.
They were just getting much higher power outputs, you know. The other people just you couldn't cycle the 200 pound, the heavier one, as fast as you could do these lighter weights for like double the amount of reps.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, right? Like, here's a hypothetical. Imagine if we had the choice of what weight we could use in on the sleds, but the heavier you go, the more points you get, or something like that.
So imagine
And
this.
then
This is interesting. I believe Dave Claxton made an event recently that was something like this, but it wasn't. It's not optimized for power output. But he's like, if you use a 70-pound dumbbell, you only have to do 10 reps. If you use a 50-pound dumbbell, you got to do 20
that's what I
reps.
mean.
And if you use a
Yeah.
35-pound dumbbell, you got to do 30 reps. So imagine if the sleds were like, you have this super heavy one that if you do it, you only have to do 25 meters. If
Yeah.
you have this one in the middle that if you do it, you have to do 50 meters. And if you have this very light sled, but if you do it, you have to do 100 meters,
Yeah.
right? Imagine the different, like everybody would have their own option. They would obviously play with it and see what works best for them.
Yeah.
Um, but it would be so different. I bet you almost everybody though would still go for that middle sled.
I think so. Yeah. I think a lot of people would. Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, that's an interesting but yeah, going back to it, it's not it to me it's not the weight of the sled that is or sorry, should be the question or the debate. Like, as we all know, it's actually the consistency across the lanes that we should be more talking about. And as we know, Hyrox are doing their utmost best to make it as consistent as possible. But that's that's the most important thing in my eyes.
Right. Um, okay. So sorry, that was just our little sled talk there. Um, we talked about training for health, what you get if you not get a ticket. So let's just go into running. JK, how do you, as the athlete, view the difference between when you were specifically training for Hyrox? Let's say the most specific you got for Hyrox was actually leading up to Glasgow and leading up to Worlds versus what you're doing right now, which is general fitness, but preparing for a marathon.
Yeah. So what is the difference? I'm on feet. Number one, sorry. The difference is that right now in my marathon prep, I am spending a lot more time on feet, running, preparing for a, hopefully, fingers crossed, 2:30 time domain marathon. Right. Um, versus making sure that I am functionally sound across all biomechanical planes and motions that we do on a Hyrox race. Not that and I said this, I think, yesterday on an Instagram post. Not that I'm not we're not doing that, but it's not the priority at the moment. Um, specifically with running, and it'll be I'm intrigued to get your view on this. Right, we're doing a lot of easy miles for the sake of just again putting time on my feet. Um, but then also, I've been wanting to ask you this: the actual marathon pace sessions, I call them, and threshold sessions are longer threshold sessions, but also a little bit faster. but I think that's to do with me trying to hit that 230 goal, and that's even faster than what I actually do sometimes in a Hyrox build. Um, so yeah, the prep is more specific towards what we're training for, and that is a 2 hour and 30 or give or take time on feet running a race versus a Hyrox race, which is running, but also all the functional movements.
Right. Um, so I'll address that first thing you asked, then first. So we are training you because this is a short build. This was only like 6 weeks. This was a short build to a marathon. We didn't have time to like go out and measure your marathon speed, what it is. I knew that like your goal time was actually pretty close to what the last time we measured your lactate threshold, what your it was right, I think it was right below what your like measured anaerobic threshold was.
Yeah,
Uh and so that's why like we're sticking around there. This is still threshold. It's just that usually the majority of the time, like I've told you before, we're training your LT1 for the most part,
yeah,
your aerobic threshold. This is we're kind of getting up into your anaerobic threshold, trying to push it up a little. Um, and so with your marathon build, it's a lot of time on feet. Instead of getting you used to being like on your feet and absorbing the impact load of, in and out of functional movements, plus the 5.5 miles or 8.7K of running, we usually like try to train you at, being comfortable 75 to 90 minutes of impact loading. Now we're looking at that 2.5 hour time domain. So now we're looking
yeah.
at 210 minutes, which is, double, almost double of
Yeah,
not 210 minutes. That was wrong. 150 minutes, which is
yeah,
still double like what we usually have you training for in terms of time on feet. And there's not in and out of gym movements here. You are the whole time running.
yeah.
We're trying to
So
get you
yeah,
used to that 2.5 hour and extending it a little up to like um, 240, 245, whatever we can, so that you don't break down too badly,
yeah,
because you're going to break down eventually, but
yeah,
you don't break down too badly. So we're hitting these paces. And additionally, like I said, this is only a 6 week build. So we don't have the luxury of like building you into that marathon pace, because you and I sat down and we talked about it. The goal here is just you're going to aim for that pace, and you might trip and fall. You might, you know, blow up trying to hit it, but the goal is to get that 230.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and you're going to go out immediately at the start of the race aiming for that. And you'll either get it or you won't.
yeah,
And so we're not like trying to optimize you to be like, oh, he didn't hit 230, so here's a 235. Like I'm assuming you're gonna go for 230. And if you blow up, it turns into like 250.
okay, yeah,
Um,
yeah. That's exactly right. Yep,
so we're not like optimizing for the middle zone. We're aiming for a goal and
yep,
gonna be okay if it doesn't go that way. But
yep.
it's gonna hurt.
It is going to hurt. I've realized that with some of the sessions that you've programmed me for the last couple of weeks, like even like what was it? I can't remember, but like just holding that pace over an extended period of time, right? So yes, I am. I know it's going to hurt, but yeah. So training for horror, like yeah, the running training is slightly different because we are spending more time under or like on our legs. But right, like with Hyrox training, we're still doing that, but for a like from a like my longest run for my Hyrox prep was around 1 hour and 40 minutes or 1 hour and 30 minutes, right? Now doing a marathon, I'm assuming in the next couple of weeks it'll be around 3 hour, the 3 hour mark. So that's the difference, right?
Yeah, probably like that 2.5, maybe a 3 hour one. I might split it up into a double, like just because we're trying to get your body used to the time on feet and then trying to just like zero in on that one thing. You're probably gonna,
Yeah.
take some time to recover after that. And then it's like, all right, back into Hamburg.
Yeah.
Um, Now, what we're looking at as well is that your actual gym training during this time has seen a little shift. Um, it's not so much the long, slow or like always easy type stuff. It's more about stabilization and preparing different pieces of your body, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, getting you to be comfortable with the running, which is vitally important. To Hyrox still. And we don't get a lot of time to like stabilize. But we don't want to lose any strength during the marathon or like during this build to the marathon. And with the little bump in running you've seen, we have to accommodate for that somewhere so that you're not completely catabolic, just eating up your muscle. So we do a lot more lifting that tries to turn your body into an anabolic state, right? So
Okay.
um, little bit of rest periods, little more explosive. And like we talked about before, it's all about power. So like when you run, what do you lose? You lose your ability to produce instantaneous power on a external object. So if you guys are wondering what I'm talking about, if you refer back pretty far back in our episodes, actually, we talk about the interference effect and what actually um, gets driven, like what actually drops. It's not if you maintain your strength, it's not necessarily your strength, it's actually your power that is
Yeah.
being reduced, and that's what you have to mitigate the whole time you're training, run training with gym work. And so
Yeah.
we just focus on that a little bit more, so that you're not losing any of that, as well as your um, your raw strength. We're focusing raw strength.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. And I'm trying to, yeah, with that, I think that I said this to you, and also I want to make sure that I'm not losing strength for pure strength, so to speak, but losing power um, during this block either. So it's funny, Anthony. We've only got 4 more weeks. It's pretty much 4 weeks as of yesterday, the marathon. So it's coming up very quickly.
Wow. Are you ready?
Hey, I feel like I am almost ready. I feel like the only couple of things I want to make sure is like those longer extended runs. Or like, and I'm assuming I haven't had a look at my long run this week yet, but I'm assuming that's gonna start getting up there. So I feel like the next couple of weeks will be long. Hey, can you just hold on 1 second, Anthony?
All right. So I'm gonna have to cut all that out. And we're back.
We're
JK is
back.
showing us his beautiful pour over.
Making a coffee. Sorry, mate.
Hey, I gotta tell you, we watched your YouTube video, and you know
Yeah.
what? You should
What?
get sponsored by the pullover people because made us want to buy a pullover. You are an influencer, good sir.
Oh, thank you, sir. That's the first time I've heard that before. What's the pullover people?
Pour over.
The pour over people. Pour over people. Yeah,
Sorry.
absolutely. Do you guys just quickly, because I love coffee chat, do you guys have an espresso machine, pour over? Like, what do you do with coffee?
So, we have an espresso. Uh,
Nespresso. Yep.
Nespresso. Yep. You just put the little pods in and then
Yep.
turn on. I find it to be a big waste of plastic and
I
aluminum
know.
to buy the pods every time. So what we did is we actually bought these. We bought the original pods, got a little uh, knife thing that cuts out the top, and you throw it away, and you can empty the pod. And then we have these little silicone rings that you can use to put over the pods, so you can reuse the pods all the time. We just fill them up with our own coffee.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
and so
Okay.
we have these reusable pods for the
Re-
Nespresso
Reusable
machine.
mugs.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. How many coffees a day do you have, Anthony?
I usually only have one. I'll have one coffee and then I'll have something like uh an energy drink
Yeah, or two.
or something, or like some kombucha and with energy. Like I'll have different things like that. So
Yeah, okay.
coffee
Okay.
talk. Maybe we can find a way to start getting our coffee covered.
That's right. So, where were we?
All right. So we were talking about your marathon. And actually, I was going to tell you what you have this week. So you don't have a specific long run. You have like two-ish, three-ish days where you're actually running probably 20 kilometers a day, broken up. And then you have your recovery jogs. And I think this would be your biggest day. Uh, it is uh 11. It's about, oh no, maybe it's not your biggest day. It's about 16 kilometers, but it's done as a 2K warm up, 7 sets of 400 meters at your lactate threshold pace,
Yeah.
which is your high anaerobic pace, which is only slightly faster than your marathon pace. So you're going to do 7 sets of 400 at LT, 1200 at marathon. Um,
Mm.
and then you're going to do 2K warm up and cool down.
Okay. Okay, cool. Um, and what about the long run though? Like on the weekend, how long is that?
So this weekend I was just looking at it. I think I need to change this because I have it broken up into like two 10Ks, which isn't as much as I thought you'd be doing right now. I got to go back and see why I did this. And who doesn't know, one of the things, oh, I did it because your volume of the week is pretty high. So you're going
Yeah.
to 130 plus kilometers. So next week you'll get your actual long run.
Okay, cool. Cool, cool, cool. So the last 2 weeks, I've hit 126 kilometers and then 121 kilometers just gone. So are you saying I'm extending that to about 130 now?
But yeah, about 130.
Cool. Very good.
A lot of steady, consistent pace stuff. Like I'm sure, as you can tell, you've been hitting like close to getting up to, or like right above, or right around your marathon pace.
Yep.
And it's been things like this threshold pace to marathon pace, and you've been going back and forth between it. And it's kind of like, yes, you're doing these little extended runs that are a little bit faster, but
Yep.
you're always reverting. Like we're making your marathon pace what you are falling back on.
Yep.
So it's like your default pace, but you can go faster if
Okay.
you know.
Okay.
So we're trying to
Okay.
like get you into that conditioning. So if um you only had 6 weeks, so it's not a ton of time, but we're looking at like, okay, JK, if you're able to do 20 miles a little bit above your marathon pace. So what is 20 miles? 20 miles is 32 kilometers, right? 33 kilometers at
Yep.
above your marathon pace. We're hoping you can hang on for that last 10 kilometers.
Yeah, and if you've ran a marathon, you'll understand what I'm about to say, that the marathon really truly does not start until about that mark, the 32, 33 kilometer mark.
Yeah.
Um, which I get, like, I'm excited to. So I haven't ran a marathon for like 8 years, but I've done six. I did about six in the space of 2 years, like when I was young, when I was early 20s, in my early 20s. So I haven't experienced that marathon stimulus for quite some time. So I'm excited to see. I'm excited to like get to the 32 kilometer mark and then just go, all right, let's see what I can do.
Nice. Yeah, I've ran 4 kilometers. I ran 4 marathons. I
Yep.
ran 3 of them as like one per year back 2011, 2012, 2013. And
Yep.
then I ran one last year.
Yep.
Um, and my one last year was my fastest one. But I approached it like 8 by 5K. Um, in terms of like how I was thinking about it. And I wanted every single one of my 5Ks to be under, I think it was 21 minutes. Um, Maybe it was 22 minutes. Um, but that's 40K. And then, yeah, so it was about that. And then there was supposed to be like 2.5 kilometers left. So it was like 21 and a half minutes. So JK, let's go into just our final recap of World Championships. Let's talk a little bit about the doubles and the adaptive division. I'll let you go
Sure.
first.
Absolutely. So I think obviously I was able to support slash watch more so the doubles. Obviously Jake and I pulled out last minute. And obviously Jake and I wanted to race as much as anyone did, but we did the right thing because of Jake Dearden's injury, and I fully supported that. So my perspective of the race was just obviously watching it as much as probably everyone else here. And geez, it was fast. And I'm talking both races, the women and the men. Um, I think the one thing that I heard as well, which makes sense, there are a lot of small penalties. And the reason behind that is because I feel like a lot of the athletes were trying to go as fast as possible, right? So and especially on the men's side, there was a lot of small penalties. So, but hey, like, I loved watching it because it's such a different race than the singles race. Um, and Anthony, like, can you? Or sorry, you might want to go down the post. Can you go to the podiums for the both men and women?
Yeah.
Um,
So we'll do the men first. It was unfortunate you guys couldn't be in that race, JK. I know like you wanted to be, but if anybody wants to catch something, go take a look at JK doing the commentary for the doubles race,
oh
uh,
yeah,
the
that's
men's
right.
side and interviewing the female winners. Just absolutely awesome job by them. Uh, so the men, what's crazy to me is if you think about this, both the men's and women podiums are, and crazy that it worked out this way. The men's and women's podiums, the teams are all from one country. Do you get what I'm saying
Yep.
there? Where like,
Oh, true. Yeah.
so the men winners are Tim Weinisch and Yannick Chopla, both from Germany. Second place was the Spanish guys. I am
Yeah.
going to butcher their names. I know I Roberto and
Yeah. I'm sorry,
Lazar. Is that?
guys.
Yeah, sorry guys. And then they were just fantastic, steady, consistent, and then attacked at the end. Like awesome job. Uh, and then third place was the American team, Rylan and Ryan.
Yeah.
So just great job to the podiums, but yeah, just all the top teams. And on the women's side, top of the podium was Lauren and Lauren, both American. Second place was Lucy and Sinead, both from the UK,
Yeah.
or actually, I think both even from England or Great Britain. I don't know how their whole country breakup system works. Uh, and then third place was German team, Linda and Viola.
Yeah. That's it's fascinating. I didn't even, or no one's really picked that up yet.
Yeah.
Which
Well, like think about it too.
it,
Even fourth place was the British UK team of Zara and Kate. And
yeah.
then I think fifth place was the Belgian team of the Van den Linden Loop sisters. And then I think sixth place is the first place that you get to where there's two separate countries, which is Maria and Jess.
Yeah. 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 No, that's cool. But hey, like, what was your perspective on both races, Anthony?
Okay, yeah. So I don't remember how much we talked about, and even if we're going to get that out of the uh, that episode out that we talked about. So if you guys want a pretty cool overview, you can go to Lauren's YouTube. She does a good overview, one on her individual race, and then secondly on the relay, doubles, and adaptive divisions altogether. But just to start with the doubles, um, I just want to clarify first of all that there was no appeal ever filed or a protest or anything. The Laurens never left the stage. They didn't ask to be appealed. Um, and there was they had no idea there was a separate issue. Actually, I found out later that um, Hyrox has a process for video review for penalties, and I learned the next day that the clip that was the sandbag drop, since it wasn't called on the spot, they had clipped it and been sent into a queue of penalties to be reviewed, and it just hadn't gotten to before the girls finish. But
Right,
it was confirmed and reviewed, and then the announcement of them being champions was made uh, prematurely.
right.
Uh, and so Hyrox assessed the penalty. It would have been great to get it before the finish line so everybody could know or get it at least before they announced the champions. But um, that's just unfortunate that they weren't able to do it, call it on the spot. And I heard a couple people comment too that like, oh, all that's going to happen now is people are going to be filming all the competitors and saying, "Hey, look at this, look at this. They stepped on the line here. They, you know, stepped a toe out of bounds here, or they didn't touch their chest on the burpee on this one and the judge missed it." And people are saying, oh, they're just going to get that and they're going to get a lot of appeals. That's not something in the rule book. That's not something that can be appealed. There's no way
No,
for that to happen. um
yeah,
that's a fallacy that anything like that is ever going to happen, because Hyrox wouldn't accept that as an appeal or a protest. The only things that are appealable or protestable are unsportsmanlike conduct and missing reps or distance. So, like if somebody only does 3 lengths of the sled and the judge told him to go, or the judge didn't call him back instead of 4, that's appealable
mm,
because they missed distance. A judge's call on the field, in terms of like, did they step on the line or didn't they step on the line? Was the burpee a good rep or not? Or, did their sandbag hit the ground or not? Like, did they stand a full extension on the lunges? Those aren't appealable or protestable actions.
yeah,
So there's no way for that to even work. So like really the only thing that's appealable or protestable are like big noticeable things, missing
yeah,
laps, things like that. Uh that should or would be caught anyway.
yeah,
Um or unsportsmanlike conduct. So that would
mm,
be something that you would file an appeal for, that we saw like in the relay. Um so I actually found out later, this was like a day or 2 days later when I was checking my emails and DMs. I had like 7 different emails and DMs that all said like urgent, file an appeal, with people messaging me saying, you guys need to file an appeal. They dropped the sandbag. And that's not something that's going to happen. Uh,
mm,
if Hyrox hadn't caught the sandbag drop, uh, and assessed the penalty themselves, it's not something that Lauren would have been able to appeal.
yeah,
So there
correct.
is
Because
there
there's no
is
proof.
no there is no like use of that. Uh,
No,
uh, but I just think the whole circumstance was a little unfortunate. But I still like fantastic race, and obviously Lucy and Sinead are going to be very very tough to beat in the future. Right? They
yeah,
showed so much potential, and a lot of it was just raw.
yeah,
And experience will fix that.
mm,
Uh,
mm,
but Lauren also did great. So um, obviously, I'm super happy. I'm great for them to be able to get that win. Everybody up there was absolutely deserving. Linda and Viola, just you can't say enough good things about everybody on the podium there. 2 rookies with Lucy and Sinead, and then just like veterans of the sport. And when you go through
yeah,
like Lauren and Griffith and Linda and Viola, like holy crap.
yeah,
So
yeah,
really cool. They did tell him in the briefing for the doubles race I don't know. Did you end up going to the doubles briefing or were you not?
No, no, I
So they
didn't.
did tell him that they were going to use the new rule book for the race, and that where all the penalties were time based. So the audience may not have been aware, but the athletes were aware beforehand about the different penalty system. We've seen the new rule book now, so we know what it is. But this is the majority of the season, the entire season before this. In the rule book, dropping a sandbag one time was a 10-meter penalty, and still in the new rule book you don't get a warning if you drop the sandbag. It's if you drop it, it's a penalty right away, 15 seconds.
Yeah,
Second one is always a DQ. Um, that's people are like, oh, why it doesn't help, but really, I think it's a holdover from like the age group races and the way that we used to do sandbag things, but they're keeping it consistent between age group and elite. And as the elites too, you should be able to, you know, hang on to the sandbag because it's a like a static hold type of thing. Like you don't
yeah,
get a rest by putting it down and like deloading your body. You have to keep it loaded. Kind of makes sense. Um, but that is, I think, where it comes from. And so it still is no yellow card. It is time penalty and then DQ in the new rule book. Which
yeah.
JK, thinking of this, we should do a deep dive into the rule book next week or something.
That'd be
uh,
cool.
like like really
That'd
look
be
into like the nuances of things that have happened, such as JK, you're not gonna be able to carry chalk anymore. Uh,
cool. I know.
and so I'm not sure. Yeah, and I don't think. Yeah, and so I think that was the doubles race, but it's sad that like that has to be what's talked about during the doubles race because I think the race itself was fantastic. Uh,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
were
yeah.
going through like there was a lot of back and forth. The Laurens did get hampered on their burpees a little bit. They were getting told by the judge different rules, or at least Lauren Griffith was getting told different rules. Like she wasn't allowed to put her hands as far forward as she was, but it like even if you watch it, it was like almost heel to toe. And when she told the judge, I get 30 centimeters, the judge told her, if you do that again, you're going to get a penalty. Like if you talk to me again, you're going to get a penalty. So that's when she called over a new judge.
Mm,
Um, and the athletes were told beforehand they have the right to do that, that if you want a new judge, you just raise your hand and call them over that you can get a new judge.
yeah,
But there was so much good in that race. Like, man, they were moving quickly, but if you watch the first run, it was 10 seconds slower than the individuals run. And I actually think that's because when you're do a doubles, you don't get to take it out like at the pace that the fastest people would take it out at. You take it out at the pace of the runner on the team of what they can hold.
that,
So I think a lot
yeah.
of people had to like run at the pace of their second runner, you know,
Mm,
um, and which is very fast still for most of these teams. Like you still saw, I mean, I think we all saw Linda on the first lap looking back for Viola, uh,
mm,
but like she couldn't get too far ahead. Like she wanted to run quick, and the same thing kind of happened on the men's side. Tim wanted to run a little faster, uh, but you have to stay within contact of your partner.
yeah, yeah. Do you think in the years to come, or even this season coming up, we'll see changes of teams? And also, do you also think that it's and talking, I'm questioning this probably for myself as well. Do you think it's more viable to go with someone from your own country?
I don't think we're close enough, and like since it's not guaranteed and firmed up enough yet um that they're in the Olympics, that people are worrying about who's going to be their partner in
Mm,
2032.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
because it's 7 years away. They're not to that point yet. Uh,
Mm,
but I think in when we get to that Olympic cycle, so after 2028, I think people will start to look like, okay, who's my countryman or countrywoman that's going to be the best?
yeah, definitely. I think it's still a few years away until we'll probably know the um, qualifying system as well for if and when we know that we're in the Olympics 2032. So as soon as that comes out as well, that's when we'll have to potentially make some changes and whatnot. But yeah, The doubles this season will be very very interesting to watch as well.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun. I like that they're doing it the same way as the individual majors. It's like creating a big impact for the weekends because now you're looking at
Yeah,
like what is it gonna be like Wednesday, Fridays, or Thursday, Saturday races
yeah,
in terms of like the Elite 15 individual and then the day break before the Elite 15 doubles. Like that's exciting.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
So it extends the athletes' weekends too.
yeah,
I'm glad that it like I assume it's not going to be back to back days. Give them a little bit of break like they would experience at Worlds. Um, and I mean, these people are fast. It is so fast to get into the Elite 15 right now.
yeah, definitely.
The Elite 15 doubles too. It's so quick.
Yeah,
I know people were like, why aren't you doing two times for the doubles the same way that you're doing it for the singles, right? Well, I like that they're not. I like that they're doing one single time, simply because there's not enough opportunity before the first major to get two times for some of these teams. And
yeah,
like, if you are going to switch partners, if somebody's going to switch partners with other people, um, then imagine if you are not in the same country right now. Like, how difficult, JK, is
can't.
it for you and
Yeah,
Jake to go do two doubles races to get times? Or if one of you guys
exactly,
wants to switch partners with to somebody from a different country, it's so difficult for you to go get two times to qualify for a major to then have to run the major. And then what if it doesn't
exactly.
work out? And then you got to go do another partner. Like, I I just think that yeah, one time is enough for now.
Yeah,
Like the
yeah,
system will
I agree.
improve, but for now, one time's enough.
Yeah, agreed. Um, Anthony, I've got to run in 5, but I wanted to ask you because you
Okay.
had a bit more of an experience with the adaptive race at Worlds. I'd love to ask you about your experience and obviously Lauren's experience with the adaptive races.
Yeah, so I didn't really know what to expect. Like we heard about it. So I'll just say like this was the most emotional race to watch that I had. Um, so I had no idea what to expect. Lauren was asked to be a guide by an athlete of the neurological major impairment uh, adaptive division. Um, her name was Linda, and she asked Lauren about 2 weeks beforehand if she would be her guide runner. Um, and we just kind of like was curious what that entailed. So Linda has cerebral palsy, all left side impairment. Um, and so it causes like tunnel vision. She can some sight stuff. She'll lean and fall to one side, and so it was just so inspiring watching. And I was really focused on like Lauren and Linda at first, but like they sent off these other athletes as well, and I was so impressed with a lot of the things that they were doing. That like they weren't being a victim of their circumstance or anything. Like they were out there just putting out work. It
Mm,
I didn't know like I'd heard the people talking in the community beforehand about like why aren't we ending the world championships weekends with the relay? That's the most exciting. After being there and experiencing the adaptive division, I understand. Like
mm,
that was such a cool thing to end the weekend on.
yeah,
That it was the best way to do it, and people should stick around and watch that next year if you get a chance, because
yeah.
it was absolutely that was the way to end it. After being in Nice and seeing how that went versus like being here and seeing how this one went, I would be wholeheartedly in support of ending it like that every year.
I
Uh,
think I wasn't there on the Sunday, unfortunately, but what I've seen online, it's amazing what these athletes are actually doing. If you put it into perspective, and they, you know, we get applause for the time that we do because we're fast and what have you, but Yeah. Kudos to anyone who is in the adaptive, uh, yeah, in the adaptive races, because man, they are doing something extraordinary that a lot of people wouldn't do.
Yeah.
And
Well, I mean, I was so shocked. Did you know that there was a Paralympic world champion or Paralympic champion in the triathlon, I think it was, and she was there and she ran and won her division.
uh,
Um,
yeah,
and there was just so inspiring, really. Um, that I really do hope that Hyrox ends every single world championship this way,
mhm,
because these people, like, you should show up and watch too. They deserve the audience. To
yeah,
go from I bet you, like, I didn't go to the after party, but I really think, like, anybody that was working there, volunteering there, or watched that race, had such, like, an emotional high, uh, seeing these people work that hard, and then the sense of community and camaraderie to go from that to the after party was,
yeah.
I like, I didn't go to the after party, but I
Wow.
bet, like, everybody was just like, "This is the best. This is,"
Yeah,
like, that was the way to end it. I know the relay, like, was fun in Nice, as a way to end it, but I think that's still a spectacle event that it should be in the middle of the world champs. Like, forget
yeah,
about, oh, but it's, a short one versus these long races. You should go individual doubles relay. No, whatever. Like, if you want to run
yeah,
it, then run it where it's at. This adaptive division, that's the way to end a weekend.
for sure, for sure. Anthony, that was probably one of our longest podcasts.
Yeah, we are out of time. We're gonna have to go make some cuts in the middle here, but um, guys, in the cuts, one of them might be a story that I have to cut out. The other one is just bathroom breaks for
Yeah,
for
correct.
JK and Lily, actually. But
But yeah, thanks so much, and apologies that it's been a few weeks, guys. We'll be more consistent from now on. And Anthony, we might have a double episode, as you said. We might,
yeah,
if you can get that
and
going.
and we might get a little bit more out of it too. So, guys, we got some exciting stuff coming up. Especially, we have been talking about more topics we're gonna do. So sorry it's been such a long hiatus, but we are back. We will give out your weekly episodes, if not sometimes twice a week, and we'll go from there. JK, where can the people find you?
They can find me on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, Australia, but also they can find me on Instagram, jk.jameskelly. What about yourself,
You
Anthony?
can find me at the Hybrid Engine on Instagram, or you can search thehybridengine.com, or um, on YouTube. You can find
Vegas.
us there as well. And guys, we're excited to keep this going and rolling into our next season here. Um, so we also did not do a feed promo. I don't know if you have to do that, JK.
Oh,
Um,
we have not.
but
We should have, because did you see what I was drinking? It's all
I
gone now, but my magnesium and sodium stack that I have in the morning.
Yeah. So you guys, you can find that on the feed. And if you guys want a little bit of a discount or some credit on the feed, go to thefeed.com/team/the-hybrid-engine, and you can get sponsored by them too. They'll give you $80 for your first purchase. And if it's not your first time, then you get 5% cash back, or 5% credit, feed credit, on any future purchase. As well as any order of $60, you can get a personalized water bottle with your order. And it's
That's
very
it.
easy to spend $60 on that site.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So,
All right, thank you,
all right, guys.
Anthony.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day. Thank you for listening to the Hybrid Coaching Podcast. If you'd like to reach out and get in contact with us, you can email the Hybrid Coaching Podcast at gmail.com, or you can find us on Instagram, either at the Hybrid Engine or at jk.jameskelly. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.